Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Shirley with Spirit of Matter, and this is a water expands upon cooling. This is an experimental episode, and we are looking at the cold case of a woman that went missing in 1989. And I'm looking at the chart of when I see this episode. So the moon was on 22nd degree Gemini. I love the chart that I'm looking at because it has the ascendant and midheaven ruled by Mercury, Mercury approaching Al-Qaid, and the midheaven is on Aldebaran, which means victorious. And that is calling Archangel Michael, calling Aldebaran, calling Al-Qaid. That is aiming for the ascendant, the person asking the question, which is me, a victorious, okay, being victorious upon that which I ask upon, which is basically solving this case. The Luna was in 22 degrees Gemini. She released from conjunct in Jupiter. This is the night of Venus. It's the night of Venus. Venus ingressed into Libra, which is the second house, and she's in her home sign, and released from a square to Pluto. Vertex is on Pluto, 29 degrees Capricorn. So this is coming from the culmination of Pluto in Capricorn. When Pluto is going to go direct on this point, we might have the final take. It is Saturn's hour, so Saturn is retrograding 15 degrees Pisces in the seventh house, and that very likely tells me a certain sort of perhaps partnership could assist. Saturn rules that, but also commitment and debt, and bone structures and ancestry, but also witchcraft and curses, and time. When Saturn will go direct on this very point, we're going to have another advancement in the solving of this case. The moon is decreasing, which means it's good for completion. It's good for finding that which is missing. So this is not a season 2 episode. This is more a culmination of season 1. If you watched my Instagram, you saw that I addressed the 2 gender sign that I did at the end of season 1, and it's worth watching. Also worth watching anything to do with the Corvanaut case, and which I feel might be relevant. You know that those things are orchestrated, even so much so that the participants are not fully aware of what is happening. Now I always pay attention not just to the chart, but to what was going through my psyche before that. And what was going through my psyche before that was a part of the place where the MK Ultra, the secret society's kind of project, a part of the side effect of it is that the person can feel that the home inside themselves is ruined. That's basically because they harvest the moon cults, and I'm at awe and indebted to Trudy Verstegen, who exposed the way that these cults practice. It's that they harvest the power of moon, but not in a benefic way. And moon 22, that moon that is the assassin, because it is to kill or be killed, this is a moon that is very compatible with addressing this. And it's charity for moon 22. It's sextile in Chiron 22, and intending to the providing of the exit of violence, the exit of these cults, that harvest that moon power in those ways. So I'm honoring Selene as well. And so when a person feels the home inside themselves is ruined, they will rebuild it. And if a person being put in position or puts themselves in position where they would be at ruins for somebody having a home, anybody having a home, okay? If I generalize on what I wrote on Instagram, anybody having a home, if anybody would be in ruins for that, they set themselves up badly. This is why housing first and open dialogue is supportive of people healing even from psychosis, which we all know right now is MK Ultra. 555 as I look at the clock saying that. So now, as I think about it, right in Instagram, I ran into the Imagination podcast. You're talking about Disney, the guy that froze himself, which is funny because the guy that prompted me doing this series is called The Freeze, with all puns intended. Yeah, okay. Of course, you wouldn't be able to do what he did without intelligence and there's all these things, but that's very interesting. And the Disney was apparently beyond the 33-degree Mason. I don't know about the numerology. Okay, I'm 33 life path. So the thing is that this jumps in my, and I was listening to Michael Jackson earlier today with the "they don't really care about us" thing. And we know that, I don't know if he was supposed to be a sort of Epstein or sort of like that, but it definitely, even from within this equation, a lot of attempts to create a certain air within that. And if you listen to Anneke Lucas, again, episode 9, listen to a person that was destined to be Epstein. The soul always wants to escape the situation. Even if a person offender, the soul always wants to escape a situation of being offender. When you learn how much energy is invested in turning people to offenders, you grow faith in humanity, okay? That being said, we need to address this because, and also I want you to understand that all of us tend into this from within the cult, from outside the cult, from the cold case. And I'm gonna talk about seeing the cold case right now, but we are all supported because the soul is manifesting so strongly something that's actually in benefit of humanity. It's nothing bad with us being alive. That has the accumulative power, and that's Saturn. So all of these things coming up, then I say Moon 22, and I think, oh, probably that's my cold case for today, because I haven't been addressing cold cases for a while. I'm processing my own stuff. And so I was posting what I saw on Instagram for the Imagination podcast and the testimonial on Disney. And I said, okay, this is my Moon 22 honoring. Okay, sharing that and sharing this information and addressing it in its name. Okay, the MK Ultra and intelligences and so on. And then I go on YouTube just casually thinking I did my 22 moon honoring, and of course, Better Out of Phrase Foundation shows up and uploading another cold case for a person who's been missing since 1989. It's an important year. I will not elaborate more, but immediately I take option of the chart to see if I could solve this case or begin to address it. So the way I begin to address is yes, I think it's a young girl that was missing, that went missing, and I still haven't even watched the entire thing. What I'm going to do is basically, before watching any data, even about the case, I'm watching the point of observation, which is from which I'm observing this case, and I'm making prediction. This is one way to use astrology. And if you're going to watch my Spirit of Matter series, the very first episode I recorded as interviews, it was with an astrologer, Indian astrologer, who always also does the astrology of houses and housing and environment. Okay, what I don't remember how it's called in Joy, Joy, not Joy. Okay, um, Vasu, whatever. And he does another point of where a person comes to him. He opens what we would call in Western astrology a horary, and through the timing of the observation, he can tell why is this person coming to me and so on. Now we'd look at Uranus, because Uranus would be in Taurus, and that's the Nicholas Stoyanovich technique. Uranus would be in Taurus, and although no client approached to me, Uranus in Taurus, Taurus was at the ninth house. So astrology teaching is appropriate, which value, also monetary, can be benefited from. Which is interesting. But that tells me, and ninth house is something international, and a ninth house is also something to do with religion, worldview, philosophy. So it's very compatible to do water expands upon cooling. And then this case shows up, and I know nothing about the case yet. Already I know, if I look at the planet of astrology, and I'm using astrology, I'm going to look at Neptune, I'm going to look, of course, at the bisextile, but the planet astrology, and me, the astrologer in it, I'm meeting this. My astrology, my Uranus is in Sag, and Sag for this chart would be the fourth house. And indeed, my thought was about housing. It is in conjunct relations, but it's not exactly in conjunct. That will already be the 172 degrees with the current Uranus, which is in the ninth house in Taurus for this chart. And so it's given me that something to do with housing in international arena could be associated with this case. Now, this already points to me as, that when they build new cities, I've been sitting a lot with the energy of Mark Rutte before the eclipse. And I don't know for like the Friese family and real estate, like I don't understand in that. But definitely things about real estate are coming to the topic. Anything about the 2030 agenda, the building of cities, and also the evolution to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which basically was bombing cities. Mind you that even Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they were big cities, so most people actually did not die immediate deaths. And the horror at which people died is the horror that goes over the soul of the children that are going to be these MK Ultra people. So that's definitely where we need to find a point of interference. And that has to do, of course, with housing, right? So it already tells me that this cold case arising with something that has to do with housing, but in a large scale, in the sense that there is a revolution in housing. Uranus is revolution in housing, but it's also connected to religion. This is given 2030. This tells me that this woman, her disappearance, murder, I don't even know if she was murdered, okay? Because I haven't looked at the case yet. And this is the recent Pedro de Vries Foundation case. So they are not looking at it from astrology or what they call paranormal cases. Also, mind you, that they're in situation. There's a situationship in regarding everybody that tends to that, and we know that the family did more than other people who do who do cold cases. So I pay reverence and I'm humbled by that as well. Um, and so what it tells me that is definitely associated with 2030. It's definitely associated with the combining of religion and housing. And the religion, mind you, this is not by the grace of God. This is a creation of religion. And the context is a part of the Ubermensch context and so on. And you could better watch Trudy. And if you can understand that whatever she mentions Jews or Zionism, she doesn't mention Jews, more Zionism. They cut dividends to the Vatican, and she also discusses the Vatican. Okay, so it's not anti-Semitism. She had her children kidnapped. They're going through this torture. She's still trying to return her children and to abolish slavery and abolish these death camps. So she's doing some of the most important things, and literally nobody at the parliament can assist her because they are those children grown, and they need the right to exit violence. Okay, so that's something that's a little bit of context, so you won't jump on me like you're spreading anti-Semitism. Okay, I don't. It's about abolishing these death camps. So you see all these things, and in the midst there is this cold case, which I still know nothing about. I love it that Aldebaran is the midheaven. Now, Aldebaran in the midheaven, this is very interesting because Aldebaran in the midheaven, Mercury is approaching Al-Qaid. It's 25 degrees, not 27. But this is in the first house, so the ruler of both the midheaven and ascendant is Mercury. It's not a Mercury day or hour. Okay, it's not a Mercury night. Either I don't know if there's an alternative night rulership, which it could be, but I don't know it, so I will have to look it up. And it's and the both rulers are in the first house. That Mercury on Aldebaran was ruling the ascendant, the quest, which would be me, is basically because I'm asking about this cold case, right? And this would be victorious. So I will have a victory, okay, regarding this question. Moon just released from Jupiter in Gemini, which is the ruler of the fourth house, and the moon in 22 degrees. Now, where is Cancer? Because the moon is ruling Cancer. And the Cancer would be the 11th house for a Virgo ascendant. Thanks, Feynman. I remember that because of Feynman's chart. So, so for Virgo ascendant, the Cancer would be the 11th. And so 11th is also goals and dreams as activism, and activism as career. And on the 22, I'm going to call on Feynman. And Moon on the 22 has to do, first of all, Moon is housing, and Moon 22 is safety housing, okay? And it's sextile in Chiron. I've been addressing the importance of having safety housing. I am going to say that because I think that might be useful. When I addressed prevention of political assassinations, I learned about these death camps basically through Wilders, because actually it was a person that didn't like Wilders, and I was trying to see why. Do they have actually substance? And they turned me to Trudy Verstegen, that has Lars' testimony, and Lars testified about these death camps. So he was abused by Rutte and Wilders, but he knew that they were abused as well. Satanic ritual abuse, yes. And Wilders living in safety houses, and I was just paying attention about how the deportation of what he was supposed to do is putting him in position where he's supposed to evacuate not only like, I don't know, he's supposed to evacuate families from their homes. And he's living in safety houses, and spreading awareness to the way that children and women are used in Islam. So, because he's been there. And we know that like all, if you're satanically, ritually abused, if you know, like all, it must be MKUltra affiliated, and the people who assassinate him is Muslim Brotherhood of Satan, which is the same as the secret societies, which is the same as those who got evidence to Vatican. So there you have a person that's living in safety houses, and they want him to do something that astrologically, and they know it, would make it challenging for him to be safe in his own. In his safety house is like jail. It doesn't even see the spouse and so on. And so, and for the right to exit, okay, he would need to give charity of safety houses. So what this tells me about the cold case that I'm looking at is that this woman would need a housing that is safety housing. I don't know why. Was she dating someone? I didn't read the case, okay? I will look at the case and then make another episode of was it borne out? Okay, it's kind of spirit of mattering, the cold cases. And this tells me that this woman would need a safety house. And the moon's 22 is sextile in Chiron, which is when I tend into political assassination. And so this is important to understand that the political system that's supposed to give her safety housing is still needing to, is still in you know, Chiron 22 is on Andromeda. It's an Andromeda situation. Because they're trapped, and they are trapped to entrap. So for what would be point of interference for this woman is that she would have access to safety housing independently of the current political system that is infused with the global intelligence and is fused with these death camps that Trudy Verstegen talks about and does something to change. And by the way, if you want to go to Trudy Verstegen, I think if you contact her, then there's a way to donate for her project. And this is where I truly believe this is money spent right. And there's always, when you donate, when you make the movement, then you receive the omens and you see for the things to change in your life, and you see that if you need to get more information, then you will get more information. But this is something I very, very strongly believe in. She's doing something with her abundant information. There's something here that's a breakthrough. So that's Mama versus Mafia on YouTube. And you would need to contact her. Okay, just leave a comment or something then for more details. So, and the beauty about this is she knows that the children kidnapped by the welfare. And another thing, okay, this is going to be very associative. Okay, this is notes, and then I may arrange these notes. You basically listen to what an author would be recording when they walk or when they almost sleep, and they open the mic and they record their thoughts. Okay, so you want to understand this in this context, that this is a stream of consciousness. And you know that I always expose you to those intimate lines of inner thought, and that makes it so. Okay, it's also important when we talk about what we're doing to record it on the spot and send it. So another thing that's been rolling around is for the story of Mark Rutte and what he was prime minister and what was done under the government. And mind you, for the technique that he was prime minister and he's also in the WEF and now about to be in NATO, he was very accommodating. Okay, so he was not the type of person who would enforce a vision. Okay, he was the type of person who would not have a vision, so to bring people together to agree on something. Now, what did they agree on? They agreed, okay, and I'm not his advocate, but they agreed on having 1,100 children being kidnapped by the merit of enslaving people through taxation. Mark Rutte simply was not having the vision or the grand vision that would come and counteract that. He testifies on himself. He said, under my governance, which was some 2 decades, he said I was about 6.5 in level of my functioning, but what I did do is get people to not fight with each other. Okay, so that was the common ground. And we're not talking coalition here. For decisions such as that, and there were no emergency during COVID, let's put it that way. During COVID, there was some emergency practices notice. That being said, if Wilders, it was opposition at the time, Wilders distinct himself as opposition. It's very challenging to do with Rutte because Rutte is so accommodating. But he had to, if he ever wanted to be leader, he had to be opposition, okay? And he was wearing the mask, while Rutte was accidentally violating the rules that was under his government. But you have to understand, you needed the entire Tweede Kamer. All parties, left, right, everyone, to accommodate for 11,000 children, 1,100 children. 11,000 is not for bad, it's very likely so, because 1,100 is what we know, 11,000 what we don't know. Don't listen to me, listen to Ronald Bernard on YouTube. It's going to connect some dots for you. And so, by the way, during COVID, there were less red lights in the red lights district. No money to turn on the red light. I don't know. I have no idea how that, but yeah. And so, you would need entire Tweede Kamer to accommodate for this. Now, for the evacuation of supposedly deportation of refugees is needed even more emergency laws. And they put them under what? Pandemic. Okay? That's what I told Wilders. I can believe, but they are going to try to force you to do this. Which is the worst thing possible for a person who needs safety housing. All of that comes about, if you talk about the 1,100. Bring them back home! It's very easy to say, Rutte. especially because it's in the WEF, right? No, it's the entire dead camps. It's the entire project. It's very tempting to say, oh, that person, that's just another child of these death camps that still needs the right to exit violence. Because now they're going to have him have a world war. In NATO, that's what his job is to do. Said he's on the money. And that's what they want. That's their money time. Okay, so they want him to have this money time. And this money time is our world war. So that tells me that this young woman, her case was somehow related to all of these. This was not some private kidnapper. And yesterday, I was looking at, Royce de Vries. He was talking about his father in the Corvanhout case at the RTL. Yes, and now that he's becoming a celebrity, so it's okay. Yes, well, so I didn't want to, put, too much fire. A family that was grieving, but it's like this coming out to the light and sharing information, and it's very valuable. And one of the pictures that was shown from his father archives was with Peter and Corvanhout and the nose, Hollandier, and so on, the bunch, and they're still in contact. The family is still in contact. And on the plane, and Peter was giving us the two genders, and so immediately I thought, well, it reminded me of how the original show that inspired What Expands Upon Cooling, that was Misdaad Verslaggever, solving cold cases in the Netherlands, 7.7 million viewers, for years and years and years, most watched TV show. Okay, if you think about, I wouldn't think that would be most watched, but yes, this was a cult show, in a very literal sense, and the fact that very likely Peter tried to tell us a lot. It's kind of a Michael Jackson story, I believe. And so I don't think Royce can even begin to touch it. But the thing is that a part of this a lot is those plans to enslave humanity. And we know that JFK, that was always on the backside. If you look at Misdaad Verslaggever, you see the JFK in many of the episodes, okay? And JFK was slaughtered after saying there's a plan to enslave humanity, and I'm going to reveal it before, I don't know, and then he was assassinated. So you could say that this is a show and this was planned, all of these things, all of these things, but it's also true. Okay. It's also true, and they tell me that this case showing up, and I know nothing about this case, is a part of these things, that to solve this case is a part of what the Michael Jacksons and the Peter de Vries of the world and the JFKs of the world, and of course they were all mingled with, so is Rutte. So is Geertje. So is your governor. So is your favorite singer. So are your whistleblowers. To one level or another. Okay? I said, even when I did Water Expands Upon Cooling, the last episode, had interference, the channeling, and I was doing the 2 sign. I didn't even know what it means. That was what, the 2 gender. I'm just putting it out there. So this case we're seeing here is big case. Now this tells me that for such case, it's highly unlikely you will get all the data, the documents that you need to solve it. But there is. Whether it's street cameras. Remember Martine? Who is Martine? Remember Martine from season 1? Martine, who is Martine? There was a guy was going out the street. There was cameras. The street cameras. Today the street camera can tell the cells in your iris. You want to tell me that then they couldn't? It was not a technology problem. Why was it blurry? Who is Martine? So we have the technology. We have. MK Ultra is a mind reading. Mind reading. How telepathy works? Waves. Our nervous system is connected. And if you think of electricity, think about light. You think about particles and waves, you think about quantum. The person today, I was just taking a walk just around the housing situation, and I was like thinking to myself, some people try to understand quantum, some people have quantum thrown bestowed upon them, and some people are quantum, which is me. Calling on Feynman again. Yeah, he explained quantum, okay? It's very simple, but very not simple at the same time. So the reading, the information, the surveillance, the majority of it is not documented that you get. Telepathy, waves, and have technology to make it, to translate it. It's very good if you have a person that's in coma and cannot speak, then you can read to communicate through thoughts. Oh, we have the technology to solve this case, absolutely. And it's basically rays of light. It's basically shedding light on this case that solves this case in a very physical, literal, and spiritual way. So we have for what we need just to solve this case. Aldebaran also rules tropically technology, Mercury, children, and heuristics, contracts, documents, papers. It's very likely, for those cases, okay, for this person, very likely have been targeted individual. And these cases are very important because you keep all the documents. Why? Well, you don't want, how should I say it? The encoding of documents would not be same. It's interesting because it's now associatively. Before I watched, for the episode that I watched with Royce and Martial interview, and I was working on Essence of Desire, the perfume, for season 2, and you know that I'm a aromatherapist, and the importance of a scent on our nervous system, and Sun on the Deacon of Success. Of course, I'm going to utilize that, which is to balance the nervous system. When you do such a thing as what I do, you need to come back to your senses in a way that is pleasurable For otherwise, can be thrown off. I've been. It's been a great asset as aromatherapist on this series, even without the talismans. Okay, it's been a great asset that I'm an aromatherapist. It's true. It's rather than people taking dump shit drugs and having good balance of rest and work, said the girl that's recording that at 5 a.m. Unusual balance, but it's balancing. And so, yes, for the first note of Essence of Desire, I was going to write one thing, and then, poof, I remembered the Einstein program that I was using to write my first half-murder book, and it's very good that I didn't finish it. It's not the influence I would love to have for the masses. I will not even tell you what it's about. And there was this red screen with white letters, and the printer, and I would sit in at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and then I would have like almost dissociation, okay, so like almost out of body experience, but not like a extreme, like you see the this, you see the that. It's a more internal type of thing that I was like, what was I doing? Where was that coming from? And the disorientation that you have. I didn't have essential oils back then. And then I was writing the memory about this, and I don't even remember the entire thing. And then I just wrote rosemary. And rosemary is a scent that has been accompanying me when I was in between houses in Netherlands. And I saw rosemary when I found at this house, when I live right now, there were rosemary leaves and the clove leaves. Rosemary. And I was taking a walk yesterday, and I had this rosemary. I just grabbed some rosemary and put it in my pocket. That was the first note. Then I write a couple of other notes, and I go on to watch this interview, and I was talking about the Corvinal, and he mentions that the data was on a floppy disk, because it shows the old computer. It's just interesting. Feynman, associated with the invention of computers, he was talking about he's using the beginning of the quantum computing, but what we call artificial intelligence as well. And we know, okay, of course it was intelligence. And I just stopped dead in my tracks, and I took a walk. Like, what just happened? What just happened? So when you think about the documentation, and you think about the changes of technology, we're about to have a change of internet. I think Vlada Duncheva and also Astro Victor for pointing this out, and probably many good astrologers saying that. And there's a change of technology, but the implementation of the change of technology, you see, why do we change a currency? Because there's so many documented. When technology develops, we can see the documentation. Okay, my thesis proposal. This was the theoretical framework of Larry Loudon, late Larry Loudon, 1990s Larry Loudon, and before he went to law, by the way. And so, by the way, I wrote him for it. I was thinking about PhD, Texas, and yeah, he never wrote back. I just like, and it's okay. I would unnerve his entire psyche with my astrology and and all these things. First Spirit of Matter episode with Richard Feynman. Let's look at Richard Feynman with astrology. And so, but it made sense. In any case, for the idea is that there is conservative philosophy of science. This is conservatives, the people who say, I have very high standards for what is knowledge. Feynman, okay? Openly, it's not the way practiced. Openly, he says, I know what it takes to know stuff. And by that it means and it has a merit, okay? By that it means the conservative. How did you know that you know? Okay? Well, you check. And he talked about our teeth. Saturn. Because they were fumbling with science. They were doing a cult-like science. And when he said cult-like science, he meant the secret societies. And he was not talking about just ecology. What is M theory? Okay. And so, the other is how you actually make science. And this is, for the name of this channel before Spirit of Matter was a channeling science. And the very first channeling episodes I did was like, do science like Da Vinci. Okay? With all those weird captions and stuff like that. I was trying to do YouTube the YouTube way. Like, fuck it, I do it. And so, may see screenshots of my back, but it sends people to a frenzy. Anyway, now that you're in the void. Oh God. The way that you actually make science is channeling. You integrate what is intuitively going through my mind. Okay, how come certain people, when I was doing academia, and I was getting good job done, I was like, what is the secret of that? It's not me doing the method what they teach me. And it's indecent of me to say that this is so. It's because I had a gut feeling. I should go here, I should go there, I should go there, I should go there. I would have a research question. And then I would, for the Google, I would see, okay, let's just see that I'm not alone with this. Okay, what is this? It's channeling. Why? How? Well, the astrology chart is one way, probably millions of other ways, to connect the patterns of your thoughts, because there are sets of things that you think about at a given time frame. As I don't know who said it, I think it was J.P. Morgan. Okay, it's just like millionaires don't work with astrologers, billionaires do. And you see Elon Musk is a trillionaire, he works with astrology. Everybody hones on the algo because like it's true wealth. Yeah, fine. Okay, respect women. Do housing first and open dialogue. According to this, I should be a mega billionaire. I don't know. Who knows where I'm heading? Because I actually tend to that. So that's true wealth. Okay. But we gotta. Okay, you gotta dissolve for the practices. Okay, now that the moon is way decreasing, but dissolve for the practices of these hermaphrodite cults. Because they harvest the moon and try to interfere and make everybody feel traumatic. And then you would work wrong with the occult, which will set you up, steal your soul. Even when you do all these mistakes, still you would see, if you watch Michael Jackson, or if you watch JFK, or if you watch whoever, Mr. Photographer, still the soul shines through so much that no matter how much energy they put in you to do, and no matter what you did, the power of this neural network is still the nature corrects for itself. Even if you don't believe in divine, what divine is, the nature. So, what is hermaphrodites try to do? Abolish sexual polarity. What does it make? Nuclear war. What does it do? Creates extinct species and sexual polarity. Oh, but we try to control nature. Perhaps, it's understandable why we try to do that. If you go to China and you in the winter, you understand why. But it's also important to understand that we have points of interference. We are wanted here. We are desired here. And technology is not just something that's to control nature, also astrological magic, but it's something to us access to life. So like a call to different, hey, I am, what is this place? And then you get the things that make you a home of this place. All of these things happening in the background. I take on a note of Rosmarine, because Rosmarine is the documentation. Rosmarine also helps with the memory and the learning. The documentation, the technology, okay? You have innovative science. You channel something. You don't know what it is. This is innovative science. Larry Loudon. Then technology develops. You are able to observe more so than you could. Now it's become a convention. This is in core essence scientific progress. But this scientific progress is happening within the secret societies. But they use archaic modus operandi in terms of spirit, because even if you did human sacrifice, I watched Gracia Tasio. I purchased her course on astrological magic, which I recommend you to purchase even if you don't do magic. It's just fascinating piece of information. So you know what is actual occult. And this is, and in that, there's a place where she explains when we do talismans, we are consecrating, creating with herbs and so on. So she explains for the process. Okay, you fast 10 days and you plan. And for the harvesting of the herbs, it has to be correct time, planetary hour and day, but there is process. And the process is such that you cover yourself up and you cover the plant up, and you do it in the evening. You grow the plants separately, so the energy is separate, and the plant is not supposed to know what is going on. Basically, and before that, you are asking permission from the plant. When you are taking part of the plant, you're not supposed to do it. Then imagine sacrificing human. Now you understand that what is satanic ritual abuse, that is torture of children, first of all, it has nothing to do with the cult. And it is not by the language that the world and in spirit and in matter and the cosmos speaks. It's not this language. The reason we have a cult like this is because we're afraid of nature. And it's natural why we were afraid of nature. But it's not by acts of violence. And she's doing Babylonian astrology. Okay, this is before Picatrix. This is Babylon. This is Babylon. No touch. This is Babylon. And this is before Picatrix. So the tenderness is the magic. The connection is the magic. The asking of the members of nature, the plants and the rocks, is the magic. Yes, when you consecrate, you inscribe on the rock. It's true. If you say it's an act of violence, Okay, it's an act of transformation. It is an inscription. But the herbs would you consecrate is not about violence or suffering or torture. Okay? It's about respect for the alchemical process in nature. It facilitates an alchemical process within us that is respectful. And so we know that whatever religious excuse anybody would make for taking this, the 1100, or taking what is cold case, whatever is there, any ritual that was made that included torture, rape, even medical experiments, is practically not yielding medicine. All the what we've been told, that Dr. Mengele, we've been told that his twin experiments yielded what we know about science and so on and so forth. But if you go to medicine today, you see very clearly all the neurological medicine of what they give you, if not for Oliver Sacks, that managed to work even with those pills in a way that's actually fitting human, like a music. Alchemizing Mengele. And yes, I know that, of course. The pyramidal and extra pyramidal was just made in a person today that is dealing with that. They had the signs of when women have heart attack is different signs. They have the signs for what they could be having heart issues. They weren't told for what the pill were changing, because I saw they know about one pill that changed, and I said, well, there wouldn't be a reason they would give you Dekinet, which is basically to avoid the shaking from the antipsychotics. They wouldn't give you that if they didn't change the pill. Okay, so they wouldn't give you new Dekinet if they didn't change the pill. When did they change the pill? She said they didn't. I take the pill. I don't know what's going on. And they said, well, these things that you have is from the pills. It's the antipsychotics. I know for what it's made. And she starts shaking like this, so her muscle gets cramped as well. And this is neurological. So she said, the doctor says it's not from the pill. The woman could be having a heart attack. It's not from the pill. And I understood immediately. She cannot turn to the doctors. And she will not be able to work if now. It's not that she works at this place where they sell some chocolates and stuff like that. It's sweet. It's not like she's making money. But the thing is that she's money laundering, just being, because her welfare, her outcaring, is taken, is in Israel, is taken from her. She provided house, provided this workplace, food and stuff like that. Okay, she's not unhappy there for her. Some other people are, many people are totally unhappy there. But only if she works. Only if she goes there. Now, this, what does she do? She does nothing. It's not for her. Because for her, she could do something creative. She could do this, but not necessarily. And she doesn't have. If she makes money, money should be kept at her, not taken away from her. She doesn't keep the money. Okay, maybe she has a little from the welfare, but they take money, and they say go work. But she's needing recovery. I told her about Housing First Open Dialogue, of course. And she's just sitting there to money launder. She doesn't even know that. But when she's not there, they can't take the money. It's a different hospital. they don't get the money. So if she's having a physical issue, then they don't let her see doctors. This is not from the pitch. She can die. They prefer for her to die than for to go to hospital. Because if you go to hospital, it's from the pill. It's class lawsuit, another one, and it's won immediately. Immediately. But if she gets housing first and open dialogue, who knows what she remembers? She didn't get psychotic for nothing. The secret intelligence, the secret society, they know that. They invested a lot of energy for people to be psychotic. And to preserve how many doctors no longer with us. Okay? So see how housing is connected to belief. If a person believes about themselves that they are hallucinating, where they're just channeling. And when the environment, the housing is supportive of the nervous system, the channeling is beautiful. If it's not supportive, intrusive. Housing supportive of nervous system. It's nervous system supportive housing. This is comprised also of the environment and the sovereignty and freedom, often from what we call religion. Now, all of these things come up when I look at that cold case, which I haven't even looked at yet. Just think about what is the network, what is the neural network that is active right now that this cold case, prompted in my feed, in between this conglomerate of ideas, associations, chart relations. Now let's leave an open question. What would need to happen in the world to address and to solve this cold case that we haven't even looked at yet?